welcome to today's Moan. Across the UK, residents are increasingly required to buy local council parking permits. On paper, they promise order and fairness. In practice, many residents are asking, fairness for whom? Permit fees can run annually, sometimes tiered according to vehicle emissions, and in some cases, effectively layered on top of existing council tax bills. But here's the problem. Paying for a permit doesn't guarantee you a parking space, whether outside your home or the street. It simply gives you the right to compete for a space somewhere within your zone, and if your household relies on more than one car. The cost often rises sharply for a second or third permit, a pricing structure that critics say penalises families, shift workers and multi-generational households. So today we're going to explore this topic further. Let's get into it. Mike, we pay council tax, road tax, fuel tax, and now some residents have to pay a tax to park outside their home. Why have councils done this? Don't you think we pay enough? If it has to be permit only, for whatever reason, then can't residents get the permits for free? We should not have to pay to park outside our homes.
I wouldn't say councils have done this specifically. The process for making an area a controlled parking zone includes a survey of residents, which has very high thresholds, both for the number of responses during consultation and the number of those in favour before they can be implemented. I don't think they are just imposed by the council.
Okay. So, if the council doesn't propose these parking zones, but residents do, then there does need to be a significant proportion in favour in order for it to go ahead, doesn't there? My guess is that these residents already have approved driveways, leaving the other residents without driveways needing to pay.
True. Quite often, residents with private driveways generally do not have to pay to park on their own property. However, they must pay for a resident parking permit if they choose to park on the street within a controlled parking zone. And there could be a fine if their driveway is on a footpath and they have not applied and paid for a dropped curb licence.
But many houses up and down the country require drivers to cross the pavement to get onto a driveway. Why would a house on such a street be built without this permission already in place?
Well, Vic, this is likely due to a combination of cost saving, planning regulations, safety requirements and land ownership rules, while many new build homes do include driveways and dropped curbs. Those that don't often fall under specific constraints. Installing one later requires a formal, approved licence because it technically alters the public highway.
Yes, on that point, Mike. I've seen some new build estates with parking provided in a communal area, which, as you say, is likely a way to save on development costs.
Exactly. Even if a developer builds a house with a gravel front area, they may not build the dropped curb because it requires a vehicle access licence.
So why can't they just make these residential streets no vehicle access except for residents?
Interesting question. And indeed, some can and do make certain roads do not drive zones for through traffic, allowing access for residents, visitors and delivery vehicles. But these are often low traffic neighbourhoods, often far from city centres, healthcare services or shopping centres.
Ah, okay. So generally heavily congested routes with alternate through roads are kept accessible to vehicles in order to prevent a build-up of traffic.
It's important to allow for a free flow of traffic using alternative routes to get from A to B where available.
Looking at it from the other perspective then, controlled parking zones do help ensure residents, visitors and local businesses have a higher chance of finding parking spaces near their destinations, and it probably reduces the number of vehicles on those streets in search of free parking, which can only be good for reducing traffic noise and air pollution. But, and it's a big one, Mike, some residents have reported having to park a few streets away from their front door. Does this seem fair?
No, it doesn't. In many areas, more permits are issued than the available physical spaces, which, as you just mentioned, leads to situations where residents cannot find a space near their home.
So surely this causes friction between neighbours over who parks where, despite the fact no one has a legal right to the spot directly outside their house?
Yes, especially where the cost rises for a permit involving multi-car households who may feel more entitled to the spaces.
This could go down a whole new route, Mike, so let's stop there. That was a good discussion. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, wonderful listeners, for joining us too. As always, your views are welcome, so do let me know about your experience or views on this topic. It's bye for now.